What's going on, everyone? We're back for another We're Racing video. And of course, we have to start with Anton Hubert, who sadly passed away, succumbed to his injuries after that horrific crash at Spa-Francorchamps. And really classed I don't want to say a cloud, but it really brought everyone back down to earth with a bang, like in terms of what this sport, why they get paid so much, why these guys are so highly regarded, because they do go out there and they are gladiators on the track. Anything can happen at any time, and we saw that it was just a domino effect in terms of like a lacy spinning, and I'm not going to get into it, but really sad for a number of the drivers. Of course, Pierre Gasly, Charles Leclerc, and Ocon himself, they're all like grown up the same age group, same generation through the sport. And Hubert was actually winning the first Grand Prix between them all in the karting series. So we can see all the teams running the tribute, running the number 19 for this Grand Prix. For Hubert, and we can see the French flag being flown very proudly there on the safety car, which was a nice touch as well. Somber mood. The F2 guys, they didn't do their second race this weekend, I don't think, out of respect for the incident. But the Grand Prix itself, track temperature was a bit down, and the ambient temperature as well for this Grand Prix, which should have suited the likes of Mercedes, who do like the cooler conditions, you must say. And it was lights out into turn one, and Charles Leclerc managed to hold his advantage. And Sebastian Vettel and Mercedes running pretty clean into turn one. We saw Max Verstappen darting up the inside where he's not welcome in Kimi Raikkonen's blind spot, and launching Kimi Raikkonen up into the air. Look at that, on two wheels there, the Iceman, and really damaged his car. And that was the end of the Grand Prix for Kimi Raikkonen. You can see Daniel Ricciardo there also sustaining damage. And after the safety car restart, Charles Leclerc really had the control of the pace over his teammates, managed to pull away. And then it was up to Lewis Hamilton hunting down Sebastian Vettel, getting in front of him, and then trying to hunt down Charles Leclerc in the process. They boxed way too early for Sebastian Vettel in this Grand Prix, used him as a bit of a decoy, but it was Charles Leclerc who brought it home, 0.981 of a second ahead of Lewis Hamilton. A great victory, and of course dedicated it to his friend up in the sky. It was an emotional weekend for everyone, especially this guy. He's been through some stuff in this sport already. And Lewis Hamilton, quite admirable of him and his performance this weekend, keeping it composed and managing to take the top step of the podium in front of Lewis Hamilton, who was really charging towards the end. It looked like Charles Leclerc's tyres had just completely fallen off the cliff. So great performance. So we're going through the classification. Charles Leclerc finished just, like we say, 0.91 ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Then it was Bottas, 12 seconds behind. Then it was Vettel, who done a two-stop. Albon, who really done a great performance. Lots of overtaking every minute you was watching him up in P5. Perez, P6, great performance. Kvyat, P7. Hulkenberg, P8. Gasly, P9, great performance. Confidence back in him again. And Lance Stroll getting the last of the points in P10. Norris down there, 11th. Magnussen, Grosjean, Ricciardo, Russell, Raikkonen, Kubica, and then Giovinazzi, who really bottled it there on the second to last lap. Carlos Sainz and Max Verstappen didn't manage to be classified for this Grand Prix because of their early DNFs, but it was a pretty interesting race. Some good midfield battles, some good overtaking, some good DRS trains you could see happening there. Vettel with the fastest lap, and Lando Norris, driver of the day, rightly so. If it wasn't for that last lap, that would have been his best performance ever. We could see the Honda powered cars, the three that were running in this Grand Prix, all three of them in the top three within the speed trap. So it shows that Spec 4 power unit is really performing now, and Honda can really pat themselves on the back because they've brought a great power unit to the party now. So Lewis Hamilton has again extended his advantage at the top of the championship ahead of Valtteri Bottas. And then it's Verstappen ahead of both of the Ferrari drivers. They need to change that pretty soon. And then Gasly further down. Of course, he's got some good points there. Mercedes on 471, Ferrari 326, Red Bull 254. The best of the rest, McLaren on 82. Then Toro Rosso doing really well ahead of the likes of a manufacturer in Renault themselves. So the third youngest winner is Charles Leclerc in our sport. And great Grand Prix. So Leclerc, he got his first victory at Spa. Who else done that as well? Jim Clark, I think Michael Schumacher, great performance by the kids. Great track to do it at as well. Just under these circumstances, here we can see Mick Schumacher in his dad's car going around Spa-Francorchamps. But it was a story of the day. Charles Leclerc, really commanding performance. Looked solid within the car. Did make a mistake, I do believe, early in the race. Run off the track a bit. Went across one of the bumps, but brought it home in P1 ahead of Lewis Hamilton, which is no mean feat within itself. Vettel a bit compromised in the Grand Prix for his teammate to bring the victory home, and it was really good team play. But playing the wingman, letting his teammate pass, being the number 2 driver, how does he feel about that? Is he settled now into that kind of role? Is he changed mindset like Kimi did, quite happy to play second part? Or is it just a case of this Grand Prix, these situations, and him being the faster driver on the day? So since I was a child, I've been looking up to Formula One, dreaming to be a Formula One driver, which happened last year, then driving for Ferrari this year, and then the first win today. So all dreams come true for Charles Leclerc. But yeah, unfortunate circumstances this weekend. It happened. You can't celebrate too much, but this kid's got plenty more wins in him. So watch out for that soon. He'll soon be up there enjoying himself once again. Sebastian Vettel, what do we make of him? Having this compromised position, he looked like a good team player throughout the Grand Prix, but he really needs to get a win under his belt. It's been over a year now, over 12 months since his last Grand Prix win. And you can see he was struggling to get an understanding of this car. This car's got low downforce. And up against Lewis Hamilton, even with that top speed, he still got overtaken. So moving into the Italian Grand Prix, a bit of pressure off the Ferrari lads now. They've got that win under their belt because that was really a monkey on their back coming into this race. And of course, their home Grand Prix. So take a bit of pressure off. So he dedicated that win to his mates. And he's been dreaming of it since day one. He got his dreams come true. Moving on to Lewis Hamilton. Pretty solid performance for him. Had good pace towards the end of the race. Managed his tyres to perfection. And it looks a bit kinder on it in terms of tyre performance, the Mercedes. So yeah, a good strategy. And really managed to attack the Ferraris. I think they could even be a bit closer in them really a low-speed corners when it comes to traction, etc. The Mercs could be strong around Monza when it comes to a race trim. So watch out for them around there. Of course, if it's a real scorcher, then it could play into the hands of Ferrari. But some good dices there. Good to see them go side by side. We haven't seen it of races of late term. So seeing Sebastian Vettel back in the mix with Lewis Hamilton, I'm sure they both enjoyed that. More so Lewis Hamilton, of course. And yeah, he said yesterday was a tough day. Coming here today was really hard to believe that we've lost a great racing driver. We had to go out there, clear our thoughts for the race with Antoine in spirit, says Lewis Hamilton. And yeah, a good pairing with the Bottas and Lewis Hamilton. I think they've got a good balance, yin and yang between them. So why disrupt it? Why bring Ocon in? And it's a bit of an unknown. But the Merc machine rolls on again. Looks like it's imminent for another World Championship to put to their name. Valtteri Bottas, pretty good performance. Came strong towards the end of the Grand Prix as well. Really suffered in that first spell of the race. But expect him to be up there fighting for victories again very soon. Just takes a good result here or there. And I think he can hold his head held high after this Grand Prix. The Ferraris were quicker. So Toto says ahead of Italy, we don't expect it to be an easy weekend. Monza is the power circuit in F1 that rewards high power and low drag. We will not be favourites in Italy, but we'll see what we can do. Moving on to the Red Bull boys, it looked like a pretty interesting Grand Prix. They had good pace throughout the weekend. However, it really didn't translate. Alexander Albon had to have a grid penalty, start at the back of the race with the updated power unit going into that Red Bull car, that new Honda engine, put him at the back of the grid, but it was Max Verstappen who made the errors and was out early in the Grand Prix. So it was up to Alexander Albon to deliver for the team, and he did that. In the first stage of the Grand Prix, when he was on the medium tyre, he did struggle a bit to switch the tyres on. When he put them softer tyres on towards the end of the Grand Prix, it really come alive for him and was overtaking everyone. So he said P5 is an amazing result, and we've got off to a great start. I had some good fun out there, and I enjoyed this race a lot. He was really going to have a lot of confidence coming into these upcoming Grand Prix, and it's great to see Alexander Albon really grabbing this by the scruff of the neck and taking his opportunities. He's impressed his team boss, Christian Horner, and I think Dr. Marco as well will be a raised eyebrow there, pretty interested, looking at the pace in him, looking at the racecraft of him as well. He just looks like a more all-rounded kind of guy who takes risks at the right time and doesn't really get it wrong on occasions. So yeah, a great performance for his debut in the big team, in the big money team, and a day to forget for Max Verstappen, who, he had that first corner incident, and then he tried to go up through Eau Rouge, then Radion, put his foot down. He did have a little wiggle with the steering wheel, realized it was broken, and then just careered off, and it caused the safety car. So these things happen. It's very unfortunate for the team, and we will, of course, try and do better next week. So, of course, we've got the Italian Grand Prix. We've got a quick opportunity to right the wrong. So expect Max Verstappen to be very racy in the next Grand Prix, but he needs to tone it in a bit, because I thought he got rid of that sort of rash side of him. He did get a poor start, so that probably could be the reason why he tried to go for it. So on the power unit side, the Spec 4 was introduced for the first time this weekend, matched all our expectations, and we acquired plenty of data to analyze for future use. So they put it on all the cars for the first time this weekend, and it done pretty well, you must say. It was top of the speed traps, etc. So Alexander Albon, can he make this his job? Can he cement it in this trial phase and become a fully fledged Red Bull driver? I think he's got the best opportunity in front of this guy to really come home and deliver. So yeah, this car should suit some of the upcoming circuits as well after Italy. So expect him to potentially be fighting for a win. You never know in this mad sport what can happen. So do you predict Alexander Albon getting a win before the year's out? Let me know. Moving on to McLaren, a day to forget. Great Grand Prix for this young guy, Lando Norris, again, but he's been let down 4 or 5 occasions, I think, in this opening phase of this season. And yeah, Carlos Sainz as well, suffering within his car. He had issues throughout the weekend. And yeah, just a day to forget. Great performance in the car. So not really fussed about like trying to get it dialed in. The car was completely dialed in. It's just the reliability of it in the minute is the precarious thing. So frustrations with Renault, you'd have to say. And to stop on the last lap of the Grand Prix, lap 44, cross the line, and not finish the final lap. A really gutting performance. Expect them to bounce back in Monza, look strong again, and be ahead of the likes of the Renault team. Talking of the Renault team themselves, so we had a good pace in the qualifying, but planned penalties exposed us to incidents, and it really didn't just work out for the Renault boys this weekend. Ricciardo had some heavy damage sustained on the opening lap of the Grand Prix that hindered him for the rest of the race, and he was really just struggling to bring it home. Hulkenberg, he was having a bit more of a dice in the open. He lost a few positions on the opening lap, had to fight back once again, but had a better showing, got some good points. I think it was P8. But Daniel Ricciardo, again, really not getting the luck this year, but showing some love here to Charles Leclerc. A real tough weekend for all the drivers. They needed to unite. And Daniel Ricciardo must expect more. Could we see him move again from Renault if it doesn't work out, if the performance never arrives? Or is he going to stick with it, remain positive and carry on, keep his head held high? Hulkenberg, we know, is out of the team next year. He could end up here. He could end up at Haas. We already know that Magnussen is confirmed, and it's Grosjean or Hulkenberg who's up for that drive. I'd like to see Hulkenberg in there potentially, but we know the history. Don't remember the balls out incident. Not balls out. Suck my balls incident with these two guys. So you never know if it's going to even be more dynamite amongst the team. They showed good pace in Saturday once again, but when it comes to the race pace, they was getting past very easily. So still things to understand within their car. They had to run the newest spec car this weekend because of the low downforce nature. They'll have to again probably do that in Italy. They couldn't run the original spec car that Grosjean was doing and getting good results. So things to understand again, and I think they're going to be playing catch up to the end of the year, and hopefully they get switched on and have a few good performances. So Monza being a low drag circuit, the lowest on the calendar, having run something at Spa with just a little more downforce than needed at Monza, it will help us learn and get prepared for the race. You need the lowest drag possible at Monza because of the long straights we will have. So yeah, a lot to learn for that team. Toro Rosso, really good performance. The power unit really performing. Pierre Gasly bouncing back, getting back in his old car, finding his comfort zone, and Danny Kvyat looking pretty racy this weekend as well. So good showing. Very impressed with the Toro Rosso outfit and really maximizing that partnership with their sister team and the Honda engine side. So yeah, really like that. And good to see Pierre Gasly once again managing to battle against Alexander Albon, which he did, of course, succumb to because of the faster, superior pace of the Red Bull car. But yeah, got some points on the ball, got some confidence back. And I think he's pretty happy with his weekend, all things considered, after what has happened. So, yeah, Pierre Gasly, I think it will remain in Toro Rosso next season. Kimi Raikkonen, first lap incident, really ruined his race. You can see here, up on 2 wheels once again. And yeah, that just hindered him. And that was the end of the weekend. Antonio Giovinazzi, on the other hand, what a Grand Prix he was having. He was right up there in the points. And what was it, on lap 43? He come across an incident, and that was it. So, yeah, we could see he had a fire as well. Reliability was a bit of an issue this week, and we saw some upgraded power units. And you can see the commentator's curse here from Ben Edwards during the Grand Prix. And then just after that, he spun it in sector 2 of the track and put it into the wall here. He just he took too much outside curb, got a swapper on, cars going backwards, and then it was a big shunt into the wall, quite scary once again. But he come out fine, and it was managed to go on, live to fight another day. And Perez finished P6. Great performance there. Expect them to be strong in Monza. Stroll in P10. Again, comes good on Sundays. Always delivers, does Lance Stroll. Do we expect this driver lineup next year? Pretty much bang on, I would say. Perez is a strong driver. He's going to remain in that seat. If he leaves it to the last minute, look, trying to sniff for a Red Bull drive, for instance, I think it could, it could be a negative thing. You might not end up with a drive at all. So we saw an exposed panel on the Racing Point car. You can see the lovely packaged Mercedes power unit. I bet they was really happy that they're showing that off to their competitors, how they tightly packaged that hybrid unit under the hood of that car. But nice to see a bit of F1 porn there, under the covers of the car. Beautiful. You can see on the opening lap, the Racing Point had a bit of argy-bargy here off the circuit. But yeah, good showing, good performance. They like the low downforce nature of these kind of tracks. So expect them to be getting some points in Monza. Moving on to Williams. Kubica, FP1, he got outpaced by Latifi, who just jumped in George Russell's car. I think his days are numbered again in this sport. I think Latifi, for instance, could take his spot for next year because he's not really delivered the performance, not really challenged George Russell, who is a good driver, but he's not the finished article, remember. So, yeah, I know Kubica brings a bit of financial backing, a bit of stability, but at the same time, his overall pace is not there. We saw the Williams have a big blow up in practice, and that must have been a bit of a concern for the Mercedes boys because that's a brand new spec power unit, I think it was. So we'll see what happens in terms of reliability. But yeah, Latifi got some running, had some good laps in FP1 and got some good times in. And then George Russell jumped in the car and was quicker straight away than Kubica. So I think it's going to be that driver lineup for next year. Let me know your thoughts and opinions. Could Grosjean end up there, for instance? Who could be in that drive for next year? Is it going to be Kubica? Is it going to be Latifi? Or who else is in the hat for it, would you say? So thanks for watching. Thoughts and prayers with Hubert, with Carrera, who's still in intensive care. And I'll see you very soon for the Monza Grand Prix. Take care. Bye-bye.